If you talk to yourself all the time, you're probably a very smart person. Or maybe not, because this habit isn't about being weird. It's about how your mind actually works. In fact, people who do this often share 4 specific traits that say a lot about how they think, process emotions, and understand themselves. Talking to yourself isn't confusion. It's organization with sound. Some people think quietly. Others need to hear their thoughts to understand them. Same brain, different operating system. Trait number 1, reflective thinking. People who talk to themselves usually don't let thoughts pass unnoticed. Their mind doesn't just touch an idea and move on. It stops. It circles back. It checks again. They replay conversations. They repeat sentences. They explain things out loud, sometimes like they're teaching an invisible class. You might catch yourself saying things like, "Okay, let's think about this." Or, "No, that's not what I meant." To absolutely no one. And no, that's not indecision. That's precision. These are people who don't like half thoughts. They don't trust vague ideas. They want clarity before action. So they test their thoughts with sound. Because hearing an idea is very different from just thinking it. Some thoughts sound great in your head until you say them out loud. That's why your voice becomes a tool. Like highlighting text. Like underlining meaning. Talking to yourself helps you organize priorities, catch weak arguments, refine decisions. It's thinking, but with feedback. And here's the funny part. To an outside observer, it might look like you're just narrating your life. But internally, you're editing, rewriting, improving. That's not overthinking. That's a mind that likes to understand before moving forward. Trait number 2, strong self-observation. People who talk to themselves are often watching themselves in real time. They don't just react. They notice the reaction. Something happens, and part of their mind immediately steps back and goes, "Okay, why did that bother me?" They comment on their own emotions, almost like a narrator inside their head, sometimes out loud. You might hear yourself saying things like, "Wow, that annoyed me more than it should have." Or, "All right, calm down. That's not dramatizing. That's self-monitoring." Instead of being fully swallowed by emotions, you create a small gap, a pause between feeling and acting. And that pause is powerful. It's the difference between reacting and responding. People with this trait often talk themselves through moments. Before sending a message. Before answering a question. Before escalating something that doesn't need escalation. Sometimes you sound like your own therapist. Sometimes like your own coach. Sometimes like your own reality check. And yes, it can look a little funny. But what's really happening is awareness. You don't just live inside your emotions. You observe them. You analyze tone. You question motives. You catch patterns. You notice when something isn't really about the moment, but about something older. That's not emotional distance. That's emotional intelligence. And talking to yourself is one of the ways your mind keeps that awareness online. Trait 3, emotional processing, not emotional chaos. People who talk to themselves don't avoid emotions. They process them. When something feels off, their first instinct isn't distraction. It's conversation. They replay what happened. They argue both sides. They explain their feelings out loud, sometimes like they're trying to convince themselves that they're being reasonable. You might hear yourself say, "Okay, that wasn't great." Or, "Let's be fair here. That's not overreacting. That's emotional digestion." Instead of bottling feelings up, you turn them into language. And language gives emotions shape. Anger becomes clearer. Disappointment becomes specific. Anxiety becomes manageable. Sometimes you even negotiate with yourself. "All right, I'll be upset for 5 minutes, then we move on." That's not denial. That's regulation. People with this trait often talk themselves down. Before emotions spiral, they don't need an audience. They don't need immediate validation. They just need to understand what they're feeling before deciding what to do with it. From the outside, it may look like you're just talking to the air. But internally, you're sorting things out. You're turning emotional noise into something you can work with. And that ability to process emotions instead of avoiding them is a quiet form of strength. There's even a famous pop song that casually admits this. Singing about talking to yourself for hours, saying things no one else would understand. Funny and accurate. Some conversations don't need an audience. They need clarity. Trait 4, low dependence on external validation. People who talk to themselves often don't panic in silence. Their inner world is busy enough. They think things through before asking. They process internally before reacting externally. They don't need constant feedback, because they already had the conversation, in their head, and sometimes out loud. So, does talking to yourself mean you're smart? Not automatically, but it often points to reflection awareness emotional organization. If this sounds like you, you're not strange. You're just wired a little differently. Does this describe you?